Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Lisa with Lisa's Faith and Budget Planning channel. There's two things I love about my channel. I love to talk about my faith and I love to talk about budgeting. And those are the two types of videos that you see. Usually my faith is in a prayerful planner, which you've seen many videos on in this channel. And I also love talking about my personal home budget for my family. I'm the one who has always done the budget, and I love helping and sharing with people how I do my budget in hopes to inspire them to want to do a budget for themselves, especially people that are new at this and have never really done that before, just to get their life and money organized and build a new relationship with money. And I know that kind of sounds weird, build a relationship with money, but we all have feelings about money. And some of them are not so good. Some of them are really good. So we love getting lots of money in. We don't really love sending a lot of money out. So it's definitely an emotional roller coaster when you think about money and how it's spent and earned. So I came up with my own Etsy shop with the same name as my channel. Lisa's Faith and Budget Plan is what it's called. I couldn't get the whole title of my YouTube channel name in there, but I got most of it, so I'm okay with that. But today I'm here to show you my budget sheets. I have several sheets here that you can choose from and create your own perfect personal budget just for you. So I hope you enjoy this video. Please stick around and watch and see what sheets I have available. And if you so desire, go check out my Etsy store. And I will show you at the end what it looks like on my iPad. So here we go. This first sheet is the July budget. Now I plan to do a theme for every month. And right now I only have July budgets up. I do plan to do one for every month and a different design throughout the year. So I'm really excited about that. As far as the layout, this is probably going to be the standard layout as far as columns and lines and wording. So this is what you'll be getting, but something decorative. And the reason I love decorative budgeting is because decorative budgeting, or having something decorative such as this, or using stickers or drawing doodles or whatever it is inspiring, and one draws you back in and makes the numbers less dry and less boring, or it's not as hard to look at because there's something fun along with it to look at. And that's what I love about this budget planning community that we have online. I mean, it's just an amazing creative outlet. And if you're like me and not very creative, this is a great way to be creative and have something creative to look at when you're doing your budget. So July is coming up, 4th of July. Many of us have our fireworks canceled in the month of July, so we won't be able to see any. So I thought it would be appropriate to do something patriotic that reminded us of 4th of July fireworks and being patriotic and about our nation, and used the stars and the blue here, and then these red stripes here. This is just to give a little hint of 4th of July and patriotic and all that. And coming from a military family, my dad was Air Force, my grandfathers were Navy, my father was Air Force, my husband Navy. We had some Army guys in there, uncles and stuff. So yeah, there's tons of us out there. So I was surrounded by military, and that's why this makes me feel good. So as you can see here, you're going to see I have 4 lines for income. And income can be anything from your job income, sales of, let's say, old toys or yard sales or something like that can go in here, just extra income that you're bringing in, especially if you're doing the Dave Ramsey program, which I absolutely love and highly recommend. If you're selling everything but the kids to pay off debt, then this is a place where you can put the extra money that you have coming in. If you have a side hustle of some sort, income, you can put that there. If you get multiple checks from different things, like my husband gets a disability check and a retirement check and a salary check. One's a military retirement and the other's a VA disability. So, and then he has his regular job. So we always have to have more than 3 slots available when we're talking about income. Sometimes it's a tax return or a stimulus, things like that. So that's a place for your income. You can put down an estimate, and then you can put down the actual. And then you can track whether you were over and under based on what you put for your estimate and actual in your income. Down here you have 21 lines to write your expenses. Now your expenses can be your bills, like your utilities, your mortgage, your rent, or your car payment, your cell phone bill, anything like that, something reoccurring every month that's almost the same every month. Then you can also put in here a budgeted amount that you're going to spend on your groceries, your household, your gasoline, your miscellaneous stuff. You can also put that in here. So you have 21 lines to do that in. You can put all of it in here. I think I could probably fit, actually no I can't. I go over 21 on my line items. So because I would go over 21 line items, because I separate everything out, when you're doing your budget, you have your budgeted items and you have your actual, and then over, under, and a tally down here. But this particular one listing, and you get all of these, this is just one sheet. You'll be either printing one sheet or you'll be printing 2 sheets. This is the 2 sheets. This is actually the sheet I would be using because I would have more than 21 expenses listed. And so I would have my income, I would have all my expenses, the budgeted, actual, and then it actually continues for expenses on the next page. So you could either just print this one sheet out, or you can print these 2 sheets and make sure you have everything available, all these lines available to you to write out your expenses. Now you probably won't fill both pages. I don't know, maybe you will. Maybe you have that many things to write in your budget. And it depends on if you are a family that combined income and combined household expenses, and you're tracking for a lot of people and you're living under one roof, then this may be something where you need a lot of lines. But you don't have to use all of them. That's the great thing. This is flexible. You can use it however you want. And then it just has a total line over here, and you just continue from this page to this page. And I love that. And it's a great way to start doing your budget. I think it's a simple way of looking at it. I think it's easy to use, and if you're a beginner, this is great. If you've been doing it for a long time, it's perfect for you as well, because you don't want to think a lot. You don't want to have to separate a lot. You just want to put it down and go. Now, not everybody budgets this way. They don't just put expenses. They actually break their expenses down, and I have a sheet for them too, and it's the same thing. It's 3 pages, and your first page is this. You budget by having variable expenses and fixed expenses, and you separate the 2, and then you have your totals, and that's what makes sense to you. Now, I personally don't budget this way. It confuses me. I had tried last year for a few months, and my budgets were all over the place, and I just could not keep track of the numbers. It's just not natural or normal for me to budget this way. And it's hard to switch my mind around to budget this way. But a lot of people actually love it. And I've seen a lot of YouTubers use this style of budgeting, and it works for them. And I'm like, yes, you go. Go for it. So this one here, you have the 4 lines of income, estimate, actual, and over and under. Then you have a variable expense, and there's 10 lines here. What you budgeted for your variable and what you actually did, and if you were over or under. And then you have here your fixed expenses, which are expenses that don't change month to month. Usually things like utilities, where your heating and air conditioning, or your gas for your house, or your, let's see, what else would be variable? Groceries, budgeted items that may change every month. I don't know, just things that just aren't the same number every month would go up here. But something like possibly your rent or your mortgage that doesn't change very often, or it takes a year before it does change, like if they raise rates or something like that. But your cable, your mortgage, your rent, your life insurance policy may be the same flat rate every year, or every month throughout the year. Your what am I trying to say? Verizon is what we have, Fios, our internet. That doesn't change very much. So those would be your fixed expenses, and you would put that there. So you have 10 here, what you budgeted, what you actual, and then you can see the variations, and it really gives a good clear snapshot of, okay, the water bill was extremely high this month. I wonder what that's about, and you make sure you don't have a leak, or you have, wow, the cable jumped up quite a bit. What's going on? Did a promotion end, or did I forget to remember something that was important? That happened right there. So this is a one sheet for everyone, and I love this sheet, but I would need more than 20 lines to fit all my stuff in. So I have, just like the other, it's one listing. Again, it's 3 sheets, but you would either use one sheet or you would use the 2-sheet version. And this first page is variable expenses. Now, I know this isn't as many as this, but I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have that many variable expenses, more than this. So for most people, maybe you would, I don't know. But you have your income here, estimate actual, and then your variable expenses one page, and your variable total down here with the budgeted actual over under. And then you would have your July budget fixed expenses over here, and your budgeted actual and over under. So you would have that available, just like the other budget. So you can either do it with fixed and variable expense or with just expenses. However you word it, whatever makes sense to you, you get options. So there you go. Now the next thing I have is a transaction log. Now this is kind of modeled after what I have in my own planner. And let me grab my planner over here. What I have in my own planner, if you've seen any of my budget videos, I have 4 categories I work out of that I budget with. And let's see if I can get this thing open. There we go. So my 4 categories that I budget for are grocery, household, restaurant, miscellaneous, and gasoline. I divide them by the number of days of the month, and then I multiply it by the days of paycheck to paycheck, and that's how I personally budget. Not everybody does it. A lot of people will do weekly check-ins. I just do paycheck to paycheck budgeting, and I come up with a budgeted amount for each week, where the first my husband gets paid, and then on the 11th was the last day of that pay period before he got paid again. And everything that came out, I always subtract out, take the pay, subtract out all our expenses, all our bills, whatever you want to call these, and then I have what is called these budgeted amounts. So those first 11 days, I budgeted $422 for my groceries. As you can see here, that was enough, more than enough, and I had some money to roll over to the next pay period. So that's how I typically budget. This sheet, these sheets are just like it. They're just not in a planner with stickers. That's the only difference between the two. Now these are actually transaction logs, I just don't call them that. But I love doing the transaction log because it keeps me focused on what I'm actually spending my money on and where the money is going. So some people like to just call them transaction log. So I have a listing here with 5 pages, and the first one is the transaction log. That way you can use it for any kind of item. You can write in here whether that is something specific for your vehicle, whether it's something specific for just groceries or whatever. But I created several the other pages just like my planner, where I had grocery and household, and you can do a transaction log of that so you can keep track of that. Restaurants, miscellaneous, and gasoline, which is probably more than what you need here, but it's still a good way of tracking it. So I have these pages for transaction logs. Now, if you are interested in or have suggestions of other transaction logs, if you're interested in buying these sheets that you would like more specific to how you budget, and you have a different title you want across the top, You can message me in Essie, or you can email me. I always leave an email in my description box, and let me know your ideas if that's something you're interested in, and I can create listings for those as well. So here's my transaction log. You get 5 sheets. You can print as many of any of these you want and see what works for you. So the next listing I have is the paycheck 1 through 5. Now all the sheets are the same, but I have paycheck 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's in here, 5. And here's the cool thing about that. Not every month has 5 weeks, but some months they wrap around where they have 1 or 2 days in one part of the month, and then at the end of the month there's like 3 days. So you can create this to work however works best for you. They all have income and they all have expenses. And all you do is you take your calendar or wherever you put your paycheck and your budget information, and you can budget paycheck to paycheck to make sure you have enough money to pay all your bills, all your expenses, and all your budgeted items, and see what you have left over. And these are perfect just for one sheet. You have your income, your estimate, and actuals, just like the other pages, and then you have your expenses, what you estimate the cost of all those expenses, and what you actually have, and if you're over under, but then you can see the total of how much money is in the account based on your budget that you should have before the end of the first pay period. Whether you get paid every week, whether you get paid every 2 weeks, whether you get paid for 2 things over here and 1 thing over here, and it's sporadic, irregardless of how you get paid, you can use this paycheck 1 through 5 and organize it however it works best for you. And then you can put in a corner, here's this paycheck, what it's called. Paycheck 1 for us is military retirement and VA disability. We also get rent from money from our son. He pays rent. He's 21. He still lives at home, but he pays us rent as he lives at home. And it's consistent every month. So I can put those 3 things down for the first check. And then the second check is my husband's salary check, or salary overtime reimbursement. Sometimes he travels and gets reimbursed, so I can keep track of it there. And then usually he gets a 3rd check for his salary because it's every other Friday that he gets paid. So he usually gets these in the first, and then this second one, and then this 3rd one. Unless it's a 5-week month, and then he gets 4 checks in a month. And then you can literally lay out and see what needs to come out per paycheck. And if this is something that makes more sense to you, I highly recommend it. I actually do paycheck to paycheck budgeting most of the time in how I budget. I do a full monthly budget, and then I do a full paycheck to paycheck budget so that I can see how much money is going to be left over that's going to roll over to the next paycheck, and make sure we are not overdrawn on anything. So I love this. So this is available in the shop. You get all 5 sheets together. And then this is a weekly check-in. And a lot of people love this. Now, I personally don't do weekly check-ins because I do the paycheck to paycheck ones. But a lot of people, it makes more sense to check in every week to see where the money is, to see if they have enough for the next week, and then the next week, and then the next week. I think this is amazing. Those that this makes sense for, it's 1 sheet. You can print more than 1 sheet if you need to, and just relabel week 5 or whatever like that. I would have put 5 weeks on here, but unfortunately I couldn't get it all squeezed in and still keep the spacing the way it was. So I just did the 4 weeks, but it would be easy just to print another page and white out the first one, and you can have another week that way if you needed to. Or you can do your own little copy of that on the back. Now, all of these are printed on regular copy paper. Nothing special about this paper. If you did do front and back, I do highly recommend more of a premium paper so that the ink the darkness of the ink will not show through and shadow on both sides, and it makes it look kind of messy if you do it that way. You can see when we have them on top of each other, I don't know if you can tell, but you can see the shadowing, and it's worse when it's printed on the back side, not just one sheet on top of another. So I have a weekly check-in sheet. I think that's going to be awesome for a lot of people, because a lot of people really, especially nowadays, we have to be really tight with our budget, and we need to make sure that we stay on track of it so we have enough money week to week and paycheck to paycheck to take care of our families. Now, a lot of us like to do sinking funds. Now, if you don't know what a sinking fund is, essentially a sinking fund is a placeholder for a specific amount of money that you put aside every month, whether you put it in a cash envelope or whether you put it in a bank somewhere, to sit there and organize for car maintenance. Let's just say you know you're going to have an oil change every 3 months. So an oil change, depending on your type of vehicle, let's just say $50. You break up that $50 over the 3-month period, and then you put it in, and then when 3 months hit, you withdraw that cash, or you take your cash envelope and you go hit up one of the places you like to take your car to get an oil change, and you can pay for it, and it's not going to stress your budget. You've already got the money put aside. So these are like little mini savings accounts, even though you have it maybe in one account or in cash envelopes, in many account, many teeny tiny separate accounts for your spending. So the sinking funds, you just come up with your categories and do what makes sense to you. A lot of people like to do Christmas sinking fund. They like to do vacation sinking fund. They like to do birthday sinking fund. They like to do car maintenance, home maintenance. I'm trying to think of what else. Electronic sinking fund. So that's like future laptops they may need to buy, future electronics, phones, whatever, that they want to pay cash for and not lease or put on credit. And that's why people love sinking funds. They save so much money doing this. It is a commitment of putting money aside into a saving account for a specific purpose, but it is important to pay cash, and that's what's driving people to use sinking funds. And I absolutely love it. I use them too, for future savings for different things. So so this is a way of tracking that, and you can put your category, your beginning balance, what you added that month if you had to take anything out, and then what the ending balance is for each category. And there's plenty of room for lots of sinking funds if you're one of those people that like to use lots of sinking funds. But at the same time, if you don't have a lot, you can take notes down here. You can write notes on the back. Irregardless, you have plenty of room, whether you have a lot or a little. So next thing I have is a July debt tracker. So those that want to track their debt, which is never fun, which is always a pain, but at least there's something fun to look at. Tracking your debt, and this makes it easier for me when I can see it this way. So July debt tracker, this is just for the month of July. You list your debts over here, your starting balance at the beginning of the month, what you paid, if there were any interest and fees right here, you can add, and then what the actual ending balance was. So this is a way of giving you a really good visual of how you're paying into your debt. And not only that, but if you're going to do a snowball or an avalanche debt payoff, which I absolutely love. I prefer this debt snowball because psychologically seeing the fewer debts list is more motivating to me than the avalanche where you're paying by interest and trying to save as much money. To me, that's not motivating, because if you start with 11 debts like we did and trying to pay off a car, a personal loan, 3 credit cards, and what else do we have? Can't think. Oh, our cell phone leases and school loan, and there's some other things that we had. We just had all these different listing of debt. I felt more motivated and more excited when I could pay off all those small ones and get rid of them fast. Some of them were $200-$300, some of them were $500, some of them were $1,000, some of them were $2,000-$3,000. Furniture loan, that was another one. Furniture credit, where you bought a bed or you bought furniture, those kind of cards. And then we had like a Target card and a Visa and this, that, and the other thing. When you see them all listed out and you see their starting balances and you go by the smallest to the largest and you just start paying them off that way, that list gets shorter so much faster with the snowball method. Avalanche method, maybe not so much. You have to list them by the interest rate, the highest to lowest. I can't remember. I would recommend looking it up and seeing how the avalanche method works. But in the end, you pretty much pay the same, almost the same. You may save a little bit of money, but not a lot, doing the avalanche method versus the snowball method. So, but for me, that was the best way to do it. And this is a great sheet to use to see what version would work best for you. You can just kind of write out the numbers and go, you know what, I would feel better if I saw this list shorter and just tackled them and got rid of them so I can focus on these bigger things later and really make a big difference one at a time. So that is the debt tracker. Also, I have calendars. You can print off calendars. Now this is a 4-sheet listing. And the reason it's a 4-sheet listing, I give you an option of 2 calendars. The first option is the Sunday to Saturday calendar. It's a traditional, calendar that you see when you go to the store or when you get a planner or whatever. It's a traditional Sunday to Saturday start. And the numbers are already laid out for the month of July. You have a little note section over here and the header at the top. And I think it turned out really well. I love how it looks. So in the month of July, I've decided I'm also going to use these budget sheets to kind of show people how it works and how they can use the sheets for their own personal budget from my shop. I do have a planner that I use, and off to the side in my own private time, I will be using my planner, but for the purposes of my channel and video, I'm going to be using these sheets and putting it together and showing everybody how I would use these sheets for budgeting and how you can come up with your own personal way of budgeting for the month by using my sheets. So here's the Sunday start, and then I also have in the same listing, so you get to choose. You don't have to pay for these separate. I'm just going to put them one listing, and then you can do a Monday start, which a lot of people seem to love. I've seen a lot of people go back and change their full monthly layout with stickers and whiteout and do a Monday start and then redo the numbers on the calendar so that they can have a Monday start, because that's how their brain works and that's what makes sense. So I give you the option of both in one listing, one price, so you can choose whatever works best for you. Now I have annual budgets. Now I recently did an annual budget video and I just got super excited about it. And so I added it to my shop, and even though the year is halfway over, it's still a good time to do an annual budget, because with COVID-19 and our finances just being so out of whack compared to what they were last year, and things aren't as steady as they once were, I really felt better knowing how much money annually I would need to save and put aside for a budget for my expenses. Where if I lost my job, or my husband loses his job and we have no income coming in, what is it going to take to survive? I felt more at ease actually after I looked at the numbers. It was a little intimidating at first, but once I looked at the numbers, I felt more at ease once I knew what they were and how I can create goals to achieve them. So I have here a budget, just like the other 2 budgets I did before. This is just an expense budget. It's a 1-page or a 2-page, and this one has 2 pages. So the 1-page budget, you have here at the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places for income, and then you have your total income, and then you have your expenses, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 places for you to put your budget. Now, if you need more room, and this is all one listing, you also have one of these where you have the income, all the expenses, and you can go to the next page and add more expenses and then come up with your total. So you have the option of printing either one page or 2 pages. And I think that works out really, really well. The cool thing about this is once you budgeted your amount and at the end of the year, you go back and you put the actual amount spent. And if you use anything like an EveryDollar app or any of the apps that, I think YNAB is one, any app that tracks where your income and expenses are going, you can use that to put your actual numbers in, or go back to your budget planning for the year. Another way, if you really haven't been going through this year, you can go back to your bank statements and kind of track which is what your expenses are, and kind of come up with, okay, I'm going to track this under this category and this under this category, and you can track your expenses every month that way. It does take a little time and commitment, but if you are willing and wanting to know what your actual numbers for an entire year is, I highly recommend it. It's a great way to see, okay, if I needed to save money, I need to know my numbers. So that's a great way to start that. So this is the sinking fund sheet. It has a category, monthly, annual, actual, and over under. So what you do here is you put name your categories over here. You put down the month you believe you will be putting every month, the money you will be putting in every month, and then what you will be saving annually for each category. And then you put your what you actually put in for the year at the end of the year, so you can track and see if you were able to keep those savings going, or if you were struggling in certain areas, or if the category was working out or didn't work out. And then you can put what was over and what was under right here, and just track your sinking funds. That way you can better understand, do I have the right sinking funds for me and my family? Do I have the right categories? Is the monthly amount too high, too low? It's a great snapshot for a year to kind of look at and go, let's see what my relationship with my money is as far as sinking funds goes, and how I'm saving for specific things in my life. Are they a priority? Are they less than a priority than what they were at the beginning of the year? So on and so forth. So that's a great way of looking at your money. And then last but not least is the emergency fund. So what I did with my emergency fund listing in my planner is I took my annual budget of expenses and I put the annual right here. Then you have your expenses, you list them out here, I listed out my annual, and then I broke it down to monthly, 3 months, and 6 months. So what this does gives you a snapshot of, okay, if you have a goal and you're doing the baby steps of Dave Ramsey or any other program that you're working on and you're paying off your debt. I'm in the middle of baby step 2, I'm paying my school loan, and I think my cell phones and all that, trying to get rid of the debt I have on all those things. And but I'm getting ready to go into baby step 3, which is saving up for your 3 to 6 month expenses. And I'm really not good at that. I keep going back into savings that I start putting in there, and I would rack up something on my credit card, which I gotta get rid of. I know that Dave Ramsey's right, because I'm one of those that can't be that responsible, and it's getting on my nerves. So I'm learning the lessons hard way, but because I keep depleting my savings, and I can't keep doing that. But this gives me an idea of, okay, every month, or not every month, but to save for 1 month amount of savings, I need to know how much that month equals. And let me pull up my notebook one more time. And this sheet is very similar to the one I did in my planner. As soon as I find, there we go. And here is my emergency fund. Take this off. Just notes to myself, playing with the numbers. There we go. So you get your expenses, monthly amount, 3 months, 6 months, and your annual right here. This is what mine was for the year. I don't know if you're getting all this at the bottom, because my notebook is ginormous. Anyways, so right here at the bottom, it says $5,956.30. That would be my monthly I need to save for. So every time I hit this number, I have 1 month of expenses saved up for. And when I know I hit these numbers, then I know I have saved my 3 months and my 6 months and my annual. So this is what's important to me. Now you can see these little dots here. Those are things I could probably readjust or take out if we need to go bare bones, and this number would change. But I did budget for me to have everything that we're already using now and not change our lifestyle. What would that number look like? And that's what I put there. So, and that's what I love about this. You can print more than one of these and try out different bare bones, you know, expense emergency fund to I want this specific lifestyle, and I'm going to budget for things that are important to me, like eating out, or wanting to buy nicer clothes and not have to go cheap on my clothing, or personal items like purses or whatever for women. A lot of men like shoes. That's what I've learned. They like their tennis shoes, and they like good ones. So, you know, things like that. So you would personalize this to fit what you're looking for. And if you want to see what it would look like to add a lifestyle or to go bare bones, this is an easy sheet to use to create that kind of budget. So highly recommend this one. And that is all I have for my budget sheets. That's just the beginning. I'm sure I can come up with more, but that is what I'm using right now. So yeah, I'm going to pull all this back up. So I do recommend, if you're going to use just regular copy paper, just know that if you print both sides, it may shadow on the other side. If you want something where you can copy or print front and back, I would use a premium paper. I know I went to Office Max and got 500 sheet premium paper, 28 pound, I think, paper as they call it. And it was $14.99 for 500 sheets, which is pretty reasonable for a large ream of paper, I believe. I don't buy paper that often, so I did do that. So I really hope you like this video. I really hope you like the products that I had created and that I am revealing today. So yeah, I'm excited. This is new for me. I've never had a shop before. I've never done anything on Etsy other than buy stickers. So I hope this is something you like as well. So if you have any questions or comment about anything I've created, or are interested in something else or another type of product, please leave a comment down below or email me at my email address. That will be in the description box, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.